everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today it's time for another interview. My guest today has appeared in quite a few things. As well as being a dancer and a choreographer, they've also appeared on The Next Step, and they've also appeared in Zombies 2. It is with great honour that I welcome Michael Prince to my YouTube channel, and today he's going to be sharing some of his dance memories and some inspirational advice he'd have.
Hey, this is Michael Prince here. I am a professional dancer and choreographer, and I'm very excited to be here with this interview.
Thank you so much for coming, Michael. So today I'm going to be interviewing you. I've got 10 questions kind of based on your dance career and the dance world. So my first question I've got for you is, when did you first get into dancing?
Well, it's interesting because my parents actually own a dance studio here in Richmond Hill in Toronto. So, you know, I was kind of brought up in this whole dance industry right from birth. I mean, I started probably going into classes when I was maybe 3 years old. But I think the interesting part about me was I never really enjoyed it right at first. I was kind of forced into it, if you will. And as I got older, I started to develop more of a passion for dance. I would say, honestly, not even until I was like 15, 16, maybe even 17, did I really start to look at it as a career and something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. At the same time, I also started choreographing, which was, you know, something that I'm very passionate about and something that I do want to do for the rest of my life. So it all kind of just came around a good time. When I was 16, 17, we started going to harder dance competitions, and I think I was just exposed to more, you know, seeing some of the best dancers and choreographers and teachers in the world. Really opened my eyes to what the possibilities are for me and, you know, my future, and, you know, where I see myself 5-10 years down the line. So yeah, started off really young and really didn't develop a passion until I was later, but it's been a long dance journey for me and one that I'm very, you know, grateful for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like it's been kind of a great journey for you. What was the first style of dance you did?
Right now, I definitely specialize more in contemporary and hip hop. I would say those are kind of my two staples, the things that I feel, you know, that I do the strongest. But when I first started, I mean, I must have started with some jazz techniques, some ballet classes, maybe some tap classes, you know, just all the foundation. You know, me being a studio kid, I grew up doing every single style, with the exception of maybe some ballroom, things like that. But for the most part, I learned a lot of different genres of dance, which I'm also very grateful for. And yeah, so like just starting off with basic foundation things. And as I got older, I think that's when I really started to find my niche within contemporary and hip hop, which was really great for me and something that I really love to do. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So my second question, staying kind of on the dance thing, is there anyone who you look up to in the dance world?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that question always starts off with my parents. You know, they're the two people that got me into dance. The people that kind of grew me to be the dancer that I am today. You know, my dad's a choreographer and a big teacher here in Toronto, and he's always been my biggest inspiration in terms of his work and, you know, what he's been able to create on a stage. It's always been super inspiring to me. I love that he can choreograph in so many different styles. He's very versatile, which to me is a really, really great attribute, something that I want to take after. You know, he'll give you a great ballet routine, but he'll also give you an emotional contemporary piece. He'll give you a cool hip hop themed dance. He'll give you a jazz number. He can really do it all. So, I mean, definitely starting with both of them. Same thing with my mom. She was a teacher. She was actually my ballet teacher growing up. So, you know, training with her and just having her outlook on life. She's always, you know, had a really positive and supportive feeling towards me and my career, and that's always, you know, really helped propel me to, you know, the things that I'm doing now. So both of them are definitely two big inspirations. Outside of that, I definitely would say Teddy Florence. I think he's one of the greatest to do it. He's a big choreographer, dancer in the United States, and you know, I've been fortunate enough to assist him a couple times while being out with Jump Dance Convention. I think with him, it, you know, extends past the dance stuff, you know, just seeing how he carries himself with the people around him, with his family, with his friends. I think that's always been super inspiring to me and something that I want to, you know, kind of take after. Another inspiration is Wade Robson, who, you know, I also got to assist at Jump Dance Convention. He was honestly one of the people that really got me into dance. I used to watch his routines on So You Think You Can Dance back in the day, and his routines were always my favorite. There was something super unique about him, something that I found very interesting and very similar to my dad in the sense that he was so versatile with what he was doing. And I think I was always really hooked to that. I thought that was always really fascinating to me. So definitely Teddy Florence, Wade Robson. I would definitely put Kirsten Russell in there. She was a huge influence on me, especially towards the later end of my competition career. She did my solo on my final graduating year that I was fortunate enough to win Best Dancer with at the Dance Awards. And she really helped change my mindset about what kind of contemporary dancer I was and what kind of contemporary dancer I want to be. So she was a huge influence on me. So definitely all of them. I mean, there's a million people I could name right now. Keone Madrid, he's like one of my favorite choreographers in the world. Misha Gabriel, he's been a big inspiration and guide to me on my dance career. I mean, I could go on forever, but those are definitely kind of the handful that have impacted me the most, I'll say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And they sound like you've got some fantastic people who you look up to, and it's great that you've been able to meet them and work with some of them. That's really good. What is your favorite style of dance?
Favorite style? I mean, this always goes back and forth for me between the contemporary and hip hop. I think I do hip hop more consistently day to day. It's kind of a bigger influence me on even just my lifestyle, the way that I dress, the type of music that I listen to in the car. I'm definitely very influenced by hip hop culture, but contemporary to me is something that I think kind of takes me back to my roots. Training with my dad, training with my mom at the dance studio, the kind of numbers that we used to put on stage. I mean, I don't think you can ever, feel more emotionally connected to a dance than when you're doing contemporary. I don't know what it is about, that style, that genre, but I think it just unlocks a different level of connection to yourself and to the dancers around you while you're performing. And it's just uncomparable. You can't really, compare it to any other style. You can't compare it to hip hop. So it's something that is really important to me, and I think that I'll always need and always want in my life. But I would say that hip hop is a little bit more of a everyday constant for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think both of those styles are really good, and yeah, I've watched some of your dances, and you do really well at both of them. But hip hop and contemporary, like they both have their own kind of positive things about them. So I think it's really good that you can do both of them.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're most welcome. When did you first perform at a dance competition?
First perform a dance competition, I honestly couldn't even tell you. It's funny, because my parents being studio owners, I've been going to competitions since I was a baby. Probably strapped to the back of, my dad's back or in front with one of those, little strap-ons, and always running around. I had a lot of stories of me getting in trouble at competition. People, for example, I remember there's this one time where there was a routine where all the dancers kind of threw their hats off stage at the end of the dance. It was kind of the big epic finale. And, me being the little guy that I was, I'm taking those hats and I'm throwing them back on stage at the dancers because I don't know better, right? So I was always just messing around in competition at a very young age, just doing silly things. The first time I probably competed on stage, I must have been 7 years old, something around there. And yeah, I grew up, dancing in the competitive world ever since. I trained all the way up until I was 19. I actually took a leap year after high school because I wanted to train one more year and, really help elevate myself to the next level. So yeah, it was a long competitive journey for me, but one that I'm very grateful for, one that I have no regrets about. And it was a great ride for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a great ride. And my next question is more about your choreographing, and is, what do you think the most important part of choreographing a dance is?
Man, I mean, there's so many different elements, and I think the answer to that is still developing for me. Being a young choreographer, I'm still trying to find my niche and my voice in the dance industry, and how can I stick out from the rest of the choreographers. But one thing that is always super important to me is the message that I'm trying to get across with the piece and the intention behind the movement. That's something that I learned from a very young age from my dad, from my mom. training with them, it was always more than just a step. It was always more than just what move is going to look best here in the song. It's what move is going to feel the best here in the song, you know, and diving deeper into that connection with the piece and what you're trying to say with the piece. So I definitely think finding the intention behind the movement is always number one. That's something that I learned very young, and something that I always, you know, try to remind myself when I'm creating, and not get too caught up in the aesthetic of things. I think with social media, we get super caught up in, you know, how do things look, is it popping out, you know, trying to find that kind of shock value in your choreography, which I think is great for certain things, but sometimes we need to just step back, take a look at, you know, what we have in front of us, and understand that it's got to be about more than just steps, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any advice to people who want to get into the dance world or the dance industry?
Man, I think, you know, this is something that, you know, I've been asked about a lot, especially recently with COVID, the pandemic, and everything going on. I think there's a lot of, you know, young dancers between, you know, 16, 17, 18, 19, who are trying to find out and try to figure out, you know, what's out there for them in the dance industry. What can they do? How can they stand out? What's the next step for them in their careers? And I think, I mean, you know, without sounding too much of like a cliche, I definitely think that people need to understand with dance, there's no shortcuts, you know? And I think sometimes with some of the social media platforms, you know, bringing up TikTok, for example, which I think is so great. I love TikTok. I think it's so fun. I love scrolling through it, watching all the funny videos. But, you know, remembering that, you know, there's a lot of dancers now that are getting, you know, quick recognition for a quick video that they post that's 10 seconds long on a TikTok video. But that's not really what dance is about. Dance is about so much more than that. It's the hard work, it's the hours that you put in at the studio. So my biggest advice is to not take any shortcuts, you know, not sell yourself short, really take the marathon, not the sprint, because in the long run, that's where you're gonna find sustained success, you know? Trying to find the quick reaction, trying to find that quick success, it's not gonna be sustainable. So really just taking your time, training yourself properly in the dance studio, making sure you're putting the hours in, the time in, making good connections, you know, is always so important. I always tell people that, you know, people want to hire you as a person, not just you as a dancer. And that's something that's really helped me book some work is, you know, the choreographers that, you know, I've been, you know, very lucky to work with. They know that not only am I going to know my stuff, not only am I going to pick up the choreography and work hard at it and make sure that I never make a mistake when I'm on a job, but I'm also going to be nice to the people around me. I'm going to be a good energy. I'm going to be a good creative energy with the choreographer in the room. You know, so trying to find those skills, trying to develop those skills is definitely a really important thing for sure.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your advice, and I think a lot of people will appreciate it, so thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my next question is, you appeared on The Next Step, so what was it kind of like being on the show and filming with them?
For sure. The Next Step is an unbelievable dance show. There are some really, really fantastic dancers on there. A lot of those dancers are, you know, some of my close friends, and you know, they always had such a family environment there, which I think is really special. And, you know, even just watching the show, you can feel that energy through the screen. It feels like more than just, you know, just a show, right? These people actually care about each other. These are people that hang out with each other off of set, which I think is a really special thing, because you don't always get that. And they definitely had that with The Next Step. I only did like a season 2 finale of the show, so I was on for one episode, but the time that I did spend there, you know, it was incredible. Everyone was so supportive. I had a lot of the main cast in the audience when I was dancing, and they were all cheering, and, you know, they gave every single person there the same kind of energy that they gave each other. You know, they never let anyone feel like they were left out, or, you know, that they weren't important and they weren't a part of, you know, what they were trying to create there. Everyone was a part of it. Everyone was a part of this big family. And I thought that was a really cool experience for sure.
Yeah, it does sound like a cool experience, and it's great, like, they were a family and that they were so kind of loving and everything. What was the audition process like for Zombies 2?
Audition for Zombies 2. Honestly, it was very nerve-wracking. I'm still very young, and the audition process was, you know, it was a very cool but weird process for me, because a lot of the people that I was auditioning with were people that trained me. There are a lot of them were my teachers, people that I look up to and still look up to this day. So in a way, I'm not competing with them. We're all there just having a good time, but to be in the same room as them, trying to get the same job as them was definitely, a weird transition for me, if I'm being totally honest. But I loved it. It was so cool to see everyone. The Toronto dance industry is so great. I mean, everyone's very supportive of each other. Very similar to what I was saying about the next step, but everyone on Zombies was a family right from the start. Even in the audition process, when we were in the lobby waiting, everyone was helping each other out, giving each other advice. I would be practicing tricks on the side, and I'd have someone come up to me and, give me a little bit of advice on how I can get some more height on my B-twist, or, the timing on this part maybe can be a little bit tighter, or whatever it may be. And we were all kind of looking out for each other, which I thought was a really cool process, and something that, again, you don't always get. And yeah, the whole project itself was just a really great time. The leads on the movie were honestly some of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. Every single one of them would hang out with us dancers every single day. We all developed relationships outside of set, and it was just really cool to spend so much time together, and get to know these people that, are these big stars. I mean, they're the leads in the movie. They have all these lines and all these responsibilities, but they're also taking the time to check in with us dancers, check in and make sure that, we're all good, we're all cool, we're all having a good time. So that was just overall an amazing project, and I was super grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, it does sound amazing. Thanks for sharing those kind of like behind the scenes stories, and it is great how like the cast all like did hang out with you. I think that's really good.
Always, yeah. It was really cool. It was really cool. We had a good time, and honestly, it's fun too because we all have still kept in contact. We have group chats, and still to this day, people message each other and we send each other things, funny memes on Instagram, whatever it may be. So it's been good. It was fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So my next question for you is, as well as dancing, on your resume it says you also do stilts in writing. How long have you been interested in those?
Yeah, I mean, working with my dad at our dance studio, we had this company that he started called Bridge to Artist. And the whole concept between the company was to, bridge the gap between young dancers in the competitive dance industry to being professional dancers. So what he would do is he'd put on these productions every year where all of us dancers at the studio would work with a couple of professional dancers in the actual industry, and we would put together a show that my dad would choreograph. And these shows were always very theater based. We did things like Notre Dame. We did, I'm trying to remember some other ones. There was obviously some original shows. We did Carmen. We did, I'm slipping a little bit on some of the names, but a lot of different original shows and reenactments of, famous plays or whatever it may be, performances. So with that, we were able to tap into a side of dancing that I think is a little bit more than just steps. There was a lot of theater-based things, a lot of acting, a lot of work with props. And Stilts was something that I was introduced to because they needed a big figure that was going to be on stage that was supposed to represent like a shadow. So I had this really long black costume with a hood that covered me, and I was in stilts, so you wouldn't see my legs. And I played this character, and it was a role that I had to work on, and I spent a lot of hours in the studio walking around in stilts, running around in stilts just to get used to it. And it was honestly very exciting on stage. Going onto the stage to perform in a different element was definitely a challenge, but it was something that I found very exciting. And it kind of, it opens your eyes to the possibilities of what you can accomplish with a performance. It doesn't always have to be just a bunch of dance steps to some song. You can really put together a whole performance, a whole, theater performance really is what it was. So through that, I was just able to, try some new things, try working with different types of props, and just expand my knowledge on different skill sets that I can have.
Yeah, 100%. It's great that you've been able to do, obviously, as well as dancing, you've had the chance to do things like that, and that's really great. So I have one more question for you, and this is kind of just to kind of wrap everything up. And like I said to you before we started filming, this is my favorite question to ask, and it is, do you have any funny dance stories?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of funny dance stories. You know, me being in the dance industry for so long, I've had a lot of ups and downs for sure. I'll start with one when I was younger. So we were at a dance competition, I believe in Guelph, and it was a lunch break, and we had a big production that was going on stage after the lunch break. But during the lunch break, I obviously, had the urge to go to the bathroom, which, is normal for everybody. And I had to go to the bathroom and whatever, I'm doing my business. And all of a sudden on the PA system, like the sound system, I hear the song for the performance, like the dance that we're supposed to be doing after lunch. And I'm thinking to myself, is this just playing on the radio or, is the dance actually on stage right now? So I start to panic a little bit. I get up, I run to the change room, I run backstage, and I realize that the dance I'm supposed to be in is happening right there in front of me on stage. I'm not in costume at all. So I have to run back to the change room. I have to put on the first thing I can find, and I could not find my black pants. So I had to use black pants of another dancer at our studio, another, someone else that I was training with. And his size is a lot smaller than mine. I was probably like a medium at the time, and he was wearing like extra small pants. But I had no choice. I had to get on stage because there's some big lift at the end of the performance where I had to be involved in the lift or the person would have fell. So I knew I had to be on that stage to make that lift happen. So I put on the extra small pants and I ran out on stage, and I happened to be wearing bright green underwear that day. I could not zip up the pants all the way. So I was on stage with just like these neon green underwear with my pants and my fly completely open. It was honestly probably the most embarrassing moment of my life. But we got through it. Hope the lift worked out and everyone was safe, so that was the main thing. But that was definitely a funny experience. And then I'll give you one more, something when I was older, just to kind of give you some contrast. It was my first dance awards for the first time. This was in 2017, so I was 17 years old, and we have to do this improv with all of the best dancers. So it was, some of the best male and female dancers in the world on the stage right now, and we had to do an improv in front of the judges. So I've never done anything like this. This is my first year doing conventions, never mind going on stage for dance awards and improvising with, some of the best male dancers, literally in the world. And I really panicked, and there's actually a really funny video of me on YouTube, but during my improv, I did some really, really funny things, some weird choices. I tried to go into some big trick that I had been working on, but I panicked last second, and I barely got off the ground, and my legs were like super whack in the position. It was a complete disaster, very embarrassing moment for me. But, something that I, learned from and grew from, and now I look back on it and I just laugh about it because it was just kind of part of my journey and something that I needed to go through. But I've definitely had a lot of embarrassing moments, and I think, for any young dancers out there, always remind yourself that, things will happen on stage. It's live performance. There's bound to be mistakes, costume malfunctions, people slipping. It happens. It's happened to the best of us. And just remember, a couple years down the line, you're going to look back on it and you're not going to feel embarrassed about it at all. You're just going to laugh about it because it was just part of the journey. And, those are the things that you actually end up being grateful for because, those are memories that you can share with your friends and kind of sit back and laugh about. So yeah, we definitely had some really fun moments, but those are two that definitely stick out to me.
Yeah, these are two very funny and interesting stories. So thank you so much for sharing those stories.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we have came to the end of the interview now, and it's been great learning more about yourself and more about your dance career. So I'm really grateful for you coming, and thank you so much for talking about everything you have.
For sure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. I wanted to say one final note. I'm actually going to be starting a big project soon. So, if any people are listening out there and are interested in knowing more about it, you can follow me on Instagram at Michael Prince with 2 underscores. And I've got some big announcements coming soon that I'm, really excited about. So if you want to hear more about that or know more about that, give me a follow and we'll stay connected.
Yeah, how exciting. Thank you. And I'm sure everybody will go and follow you. I'll put the link in the description so everybody can go and check that out. But yeah, how exciting. We'll have to look out for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Big things.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, again, thank you so much for coming, and it has been great. And thank you to everybody who's watched this video. Remember to stay safe, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another interview. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.